Welcome to the Nova Digital Business Spotlight. We are speaking with Jamie O'Flannery, Marketing and PR Manager for the Dingle Sea Safari. Dingle Sea Safari, a family-run adventure company, I think it might be fair to say, Jamie, operating out of Dingle, Dingle Base, and I believe you're in business since 2018.
Absolutely, yeah. So as you mentioned, we're a family-run business here in the heart of Dingle Town. Dingle Sea Ferry was established by my father Jimmy in 2016 and then became a company in 2018. And I suppose it's gone from strength to strength. All of the family members, most family members are involved in the company. Myself, my brother, and then both my parents. And yeah, we're based in Dingle Town. We're an outdoor adventure boat experience. It's 2.5 hour tour. And yeah, I suppose it evolved from all of us spending years in tourism. My parents spent years bringing people out to see fungi. The dolphin, who spent 37 years in the harbour in Dingle. And I suppose one of the main reasons why it was established was to showcase more of the peninsula on board a fast boat.
Yeah, and I can attest to the fact that it is quite a fast boat. Yeah, I was on the tour. I think it could have been back in 2019 or 2020. We got a nice day, a little bit overcast, a little bit choppy, but we made it all the way around. The first question we have here for you is, what do you do and who do you do it for?
Absolutely. So, Dingle Seas Ferry is an outdoor adventure experience on board a very fast boat that showcases the stunning scenery of the Dingle Peninsula. You get to see the amazing rock formations, hear about the geology, the Great Blasket Islands, and the other islands that are off the coast of Cartagena here in West Kerry. But also, what's really unique about it is you get to see so much of the peninsula within 2.5 hours, and you have a local guide on board the boat as well. So it's really a unique experience from start to finish. And of course, the wildlife that you get to see too throughout the experience is an added bonus. At various times of the year, you might get to see the basking sharks in May and June, the puffins until the end of July, hopefully humpback whales that we've spotted every season, other types of whales, and then dolphins as well. So encapsulation the 2.5 hours as well. You just get to really get that immersive experience from start to finish. It's something people really want. They're really looking to learn elements of what is phenomenal about Ireland, and that's, I suppose, one of the main reasons. And it's for everybody from the age of 9 up to 60, 70, 80-year olds who are adventurous, Irish, international visitors, locals, and that's what's really special about it is at different times of the year, depending on when you come on board, you'll get a different experience, be with a different captain, and overall it will never be the same.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. I suppose the locals that you have attending the tours will also have, their local history, and then you have a mixture of kind of people will say from other parts of Ireland, and then obviously your international tourism, I'd imagine, is a big part of the business in the summer months. Given that we touched on it there earlier, the business you started in 2018.
Yeah.
What kind of sparked the idea? What got you to get started in 2018? What was it that got you to pull the trigger, I suppose?
Dad wanted to really showcase more of the peninsula. As I said, he spent years, and all of us grew up on board the bigger boats, bringing people out to see fungi. And it was a 1 hour tour out in the harbour. And then I remember him telling me that he went back on a smaller boat around the peninsula and got to see what else is on offer and how could he possibly showcase this within a time that suits visitors as well, because you don't want to take up their whole day. So he bought a small boat and he started with 8 people. He was doing it part-time while also doing the fungi tours on board the bigger boat. And then 2020 came and he had just purchased a new boat. And then Fungi spent his last season here in 2020.
Mm.
And the business really accelerated after that because there was such demand to get out and to see as much of the peninsula. And 2.5 hours is the perfect time, I think,
Mm.
for you to go in the morning, afternoon, or evening and really just immerse yourself into the experience. And that's why there's demand for it. I suppose we're also seeing a real demand to be in the outdoors, the
Mm.
adventure, and it's something that I think it was just the right time when Dad established it. We went from, as I said, three boats kind of during the pandemic in 2020 when we opened up here in Dingle, there was such demand. We had, I suppose, you'd call it an influencer who came down, and we actually were inundated for that whole season on reduced capacity. And it's gone from strength to strength, carrying like 1,800 people back in 2019 to over 13,000 people in 2020, end of 2024. And we're looking at an increase in that number again this year. So it just shows that people really want that experience. They really want to immerse themselves into nature and into the outdoors and adventure. And it's kind of where tourism policy is driving towards as well for the next 5 years here in Ireland. And it's why I suppose the Wild Atlantic Way has been so successful, and why elements of just getting out into the outdoors is really where we've kind of got into that area and grown and built up the business.
Yeah, and it's really good to hear them numbers kind of going from strength to strength, Jamie. It's really something that you like to hear. And something you touched on there was, I suppose, the emergence of tech and people being so engrossed in, like, big screen, medium screen, small screen.
Hmm.
You're constantly being, bombarded by everything digital. So these types of experiences where you get out into the open, into the fresh sea air, and you might think you're going out to get a look at fungi, or at least when fungi was there, but then you see so much of the Dingle Peninsula, and it is really breathtaking. And morning, afternoon, night can all kind of provide something a little bit different. So yeah, that's really cool to hear. In the last 7 years, what would is there a moment you could pinpoint to be your proudest moment so far for you, or maybe for the business?
For us, I think as a family-run business, to see the demand, to see the growth, and also that my dad has built two new boats in the last 3 years, and to know that the business is successful enough that you can take that risk and grow the business and know that there'll be the demand there shows that you've come up with something that is successful.
Yeah,
And I think for him as well to, I mean, he spent his whole life in boats. My brother as well. I to give you the dynamic of my brother is one of the captains, my dad's one of the captains. They do the maintenance as well, and then my mom is in the office and does the bookings, and then I'm the marketing, digital marketing, the PR, the behind the kind of behind the scenes, but not on the boat all the time. So
yeah.
it all works really well as a family-run business. Yeah, we have our moments, obviously, but I think because everybody's roles are so defined and everybody knows what they're good at and what they're able to excel at, I think that's where the recipe has been very successful. And we brought in all local employees, which know the peninsula and understand what is needed in a local business here in Dingle. So I guess that encapsulates how we feel it has been successful. Thankfully, there's no new boat coming next year, which means that there's a bit of a break. Yeah, as I said, like six boats to grow and to build from one in 2016, 17, all the way through to three in 2020, all the way through to six now in 2025, just shows how the business has been successful, and the risk that was taken was worth it because the demand is there.
100%. And you see, you can see the growth year on year, nearly out of necessity, because you have so many more new customers. You need to up the fleet to cope with the demand, which is
Absolutely.
really great. And just, I suppose, a side question, Jamie, is there kind of, obviously maybe the summer months would be your busiest, but is there kind of
Mm.
a certain time of the year that really peaks, or does it kind of plateau at some stage? Or
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We're really dependent on weather, and that's what the
Mm.
challenge is. That's our main challenge is that the sea conditions, if it's not suitable, we won't operate. And we'd
Yeah,
rather that the customer is disappointed they didn't get out rather than going out and it not being suitable. And it's something that's really important for us as a business that people understand that. It really has varied the last three seasons, and we were trying to look at trends. There's no trends there in the weather. So obviously we don't know when we're going to be the busiest, when we're going to be the quietest. We operate from March to October because of how we're exposed right out in Dingle Bay. So you're right, like beyond the Blast Islands, next stop is America. So you're
Mm.
literally out in the wide Atlantic Ocean, and it's just quite can be quite choppy. But I think what we've noticed as well is that the shoulder seasons are sometimes as busy as the summer seasons here in Dingle, and it's that's down to the demand as a destination that Dingle is quite popular nearly all the way throughout the year. We've noticed like May and June can be nearly our busiest months, and October was really good this year, and last year September was, and August was better this year than last year. So it just
Yeah.
we were really it's battling the elements of what Ireland has here, the weather, which is where our demand is. But we can see that the demand is there throughout the year. It's just
Mm.
unfortunately we have to cancel due to sea conditions and weather.
Yeah, and I suppose at different times of the year, Dingle has something different to offer at all times. You know, you can go down there on a crisp, kind of nice, maybe November morning, and it offers something different than it does maybe on a June or July afternoon. So there is kind of, differences throughout the year. Um,
Absolutely. And we notice as well, like I suppose the US market is a massive market for us, and we've noticed that the shoulder season of March, April, May, September, October is when they're traveling as well. So
yeah.
because they're getting better deals. So again, our market actually would change throughout the whole year, and it's something that is quite interesting to look at the trends of when the
Hmm.
Irish are traveling, when the US, when the European, when the other internationals are traveling as well.
Yeah, and I suppose you spoke a little bit on trends there. I know there's not too many trends you can maybe figure out through the weather, but with your business experience throughout the years, Jamie, is there any maybe little piece of advice you could give to somebody thinking of starting a business in the new year, kind of on the fence? Is there any kind of business insights you can give?
Absolutely. I think for me as well, I moved back into the family business having been away and trained as a primary school teacher and now work in the marketing element of it. I
Mm,
think if you're going to start your own business, you need to have done your market research, certainly. You need to see if there's a demand for your product. If it's a product or a service, you need to see if there's demand for it, see how feasible it is to operate um, throughout the whole year? Is it a destiny? If you're setting up somewhere that isn't demand all year round, are you able to take that risk and operate just for the say if it's a tourism service or something, if it's
mm,
only demand for 6, 7, 8 months of the year, um, you obviously need to make sure that you have really thought it out and the market isn't saturated because
yeah.
I mean, coming up with an idea and thinking that it's going to be successful, and yet that's been done by four other people in the same place, and have they established a loyal customer market there before? So
Yeah.
that's something that's really crucial. And then also thinking about why you're unique and what's authentic about your business, because that's what people want. They want the story behind the business. They want to meet the people. It's gone full circle back to supporting local people on the ground, but you've put in the hard work. And I can see from being involved in building the digital platform and digital marketing of our business over the last 5 years that it takes a lot of time and effort, but it's worth it in the long run if you need to be looking at like the next step and where you see yourself in 3 to 5 years' time. So
Yeah.
having that mapped out, see where you want to grow towards, see how you can get there, and then also bringing in and using the resources that are on your doorstep, the supports that are there, because
Mm,
like collaboration with local businesses is something that is really important for us. It's something I was really, really key to really emphasize and build up those relationships
mm,
within our business and also work with the festivals that are happening in the peninsula, work with the all the other people that are in the peninsula. And that's something that starting off a new business, you need to have done that research, make those links and connections, talk to the people who are involved because they're there to support you once they know that you're authentic and that you do want to build up those relationships with people in the peninsula or in the town that you're setting up in
yeah.
if it's a product, you know.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of good points there, Jamie. Really, really good advice to be given anybody that's maybe on the fence thinking of starting a service-based business. Something that jumped to mind there with the research is kind of the old carpenter adage: measure twice, cut once. So make sure you have
Hmm.
all of your research done. And I think another point you touched on there was, just being a local family-run business isn't enough. You need to provide a good service. You need to collaborate with other businesses or organizations within your community and kind of, I suppose, lift each other up in some
Exactly.
respects. Some really good bits from you there, Jamie. Thanks very much. This is really valuable information for, I'm sure, people who'll be watching, and for me maybe as well.
No, it's
Um,
brilliant. Yeah, it's great to be able to share insights. And I suppose because I also would work with a lot of other businesses in the destination, I think that is so crucial. It's so key, and it's what people want now is to see that collaboration and to see people working together and to hear the stories. I mean, if you're setting up a business, you need to be getting your business out there digitally, getting it
yeah,
out onto the social media platforms, getting your story out there and being authentic because people will buy into that straight away and they see the faces behind the business. It's not just about seeing a product or seeing a service. They need to see the people and they need to see that people behind the businesses are close to the business and still really engaged with the business because then they'll feel like they want to support it.
yeah, for sure. Storytelling is such a big element in digital marketing in this day and age, and it really, if you can manage to tell that story of the business, it'll kind of return tenfold in most cases,
Absolutely.
especially in your own line of work there with what you're doing. So, what's next for the business, and is there something that you're betting big on in 2026?
Mm. What's next for the business is to sustain what we have achieved, continue to provide the professionalism of the service and the business that we do provide. We are really, really key to continue to be the number one experience in the peninsula, to provide that service and to keep the training up on what is what experience customers are getting on board. So that's really important for us. But also, we're not planning on growing any bigger. It's to, if anything, over the next couple of years, is to make our fleet as up to date and as sustainable as possible in the boats that we have. So our whole business is also about making sure that we are continuing to, I suppose, be the business that is just as supportive as possible to other businesses in
Mm.
the peninsula and collaborate as much as possible, but also stay at the level we're at. And we don't want that quality to drop at all.
Yeah, I suppose that's another good kind of business point there to bring up is doubling down on the service and making sure
Mhm.
you don't always need to be scaling, and obviously you've scaled year on year over the last couple of years, and now it's about just kind of perfecting what you have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there one maybe hard lesson or memorable mistake, or we could say if you don't laugh you'll cry kind of moment that jumps to mind over the last couple of years, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's taking your time to not be too worried about the minor things that are within the business. You know, they will all work out. I think we've had times where for us it's again it always goes back to like we weren't operating for how many weeks or and that we
Mhm.
still had the bills coming in, but that it was going to come right. And then that happened last year. Like I mean, August was really tough because we were only operating for 7 days in the whole month, and yet September was fantastic and yet you had that fear of, oh, will we get to operate for the next month or 2 months
Yeah.
because and it's out of your control. But yet at the end of the day, it did come right, and we knew overall across the year, and that's what can be really challenging for businesses, especially small
Mhm.
SMEs. Like they might have these challenges that might like there might be a massive cost that comes in that you're saying we didn't expect that to happen at this month, and then our cash flow is completely skewed. But I do think stick at it. Like I suppose for us, it was right. It will hopefully come good, and that we will not have just continue to bring in the bookings and continue to promote the business and continue to get people to book in advance and then bring in that cash flow and then rotate it around. You know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I suppose that's cash flow is such an important part to any business, and obviously you need to nail it down nice and early. But there is certain elements that you can't control, and I suppose
Hmm.
when these things are out of your control, you just need to do what you can do. And I suppose that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
a good piece to take away from that. Jamie, you touched on sustainability. I know from
Hmm.
having a look at the website, I see there that you're kind of big on sustainability and kind of circular economy. I
Hmm.
noticed that you were one of 80 only Irish SMEs in the CART program. Is there a little bit you can tell us about that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose the CE4RT program was. 2-year European program that we were one of the 10 businesses here in the Dingle Peninsula, a European program. It's all about looking at ways of um, I suppose trying to make your business sustainable in a practical term, because I think the sustainable word is used a lot as a buzzword, but what actually are you doing on the ground? So for us, it was like sustaining your business for the next generation and seeing how a family-run business can work at little things throughout the service that we provide, but also in the local economy and the local
Mm,
community. So for us, it was like highlighting the place and where we are and what's so important about that, and passing on the knowledge of the Great Blasket Islands, for example, to the customer on board so that they get a sense of place and champion the destination that we're in, and then they learn something and pass it on to somebody else. Then obviously you have your, like, we're part of the climate action program with Fall to Ireland, that is a 3-year program, and that's literally trying to cut down how much CO2 emissions per year that we are impacting as a business. And we've seen a big reduction in that as well by the new engines that we're using, the amount of demand for the product. Our boats are always full. So compared to like 2020 when we were at half capacity, you can see from 2019, 2020, when we did the baseline survey up to this year and last year, we're seeing a real dramatic reduction in our CO2
mm,
emissions per passenger. Again, it's overall trying to incorporate it into the business, but it will never and it shouldn't ever be the main focus, because everything needs to be prioritized. And overall, you want to provide a service that is, yes, focusing on these things and that it becomes part of the business. And it was really great because we networked with businesses from all over Europe and other types of boat operating companies that were doing fantastic things up in Iceland, for example.
mm.
So for us, it was great to learn about that and learn from those businesses, and then bring that into our business and focus on it. And we would love to look at biodiesel and see if it was a possibility. It's just the sourcing it here on the Dingle Peninsula has been challenging, and
Mm.
also the amount that we would use is just to look at the cost compared to the overall, obviously, benefit of it, but be as practical as possible from a business point of view as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think sustainability and everything like that, it can be a little bit of a buzzword or almost a tick box exercise for some businesses.
Hmm.
But it is good to see, a business like yourselves really champion it. And you can see through some of the stats you spoke about there that you are actually making a difference. And that's great to see, because sometimes it can just be a little bit of a tick box, but it's evident through your participation in this program and all your efforts that you are making.
Hmm.
We are champion sustainability as well as you can. There was a little dolphin mentioned earlier on in the call, Jamie. I think everybody's familiar with them, but the reason I bring them up is one of the questions we had prepared that I didn't share with you was, if your business had a mascot, what would it be? No, I'm not telling you what it should be, but what would it be if you had a mascot? What do you think it would be?
That's an interesting one. It would probably have to be a dolphin, probably, because you see so many dolphins on board the boat. We actually had Genie back now, puffins, like people obviously love the puffins. Yeah, I just know it's a tough one. That's a really hard one. Genie Mac, that was thrown on the spot now.
Yeah.
Any type of the animals that are seen on board the boat. We actually had, which was amazing, the last 3 years we've seen the orcas. I don't know if you spotted that, but
No.
we did see one of the orcas was on his own, and there was quite a big story at the time, because they normally travel together, the two orcas. And in June this year, Aquarius was seen in Dingle and spent a lot of time, which they normally don't at all,
Hmm.
on his own. And then John Cole wasn't there. They've always spent like the last 20 years traveling together, but
Oh.
they were thankfully brought together, or they were spotted together off the coast of Scotland, I think, towards the end of our season in September. So that was a lovely story. But
Yeah.
we, yeah, I know I'm going quite off topic here, but it's just amazing to see, like, think about the orcas as I
Yeah.
don't know, probably have to go with the dolphin. I have to go with the dolphin.
You
It would
have to
have to
go
be,
with
I'd
a
say.
dolphin,
And
yeah.
probably not fungi, obviously, because fungi unfortunately isn't still here
Yes.
after 37 years. But
Yeah.
it was actually 5 years since he left, just there a couple of
Oh,
weeks ago. So, the magical thing about fungi, though, is that fungi, we don't know how he came to Dingle. We don't know where he's gone to. So, like, it's that whole magical story of kind of, it's encapsulated in, like, I grew up with fungi and would have
yeah.
spent years on the boats, and it's just that nice kind of story of nobody knows where he went off to, nobody knows why he came to Dingle. So, Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway, we'll go back to probably dolphin. Dolphin. See, I don't know. I could pick any of them to be honest. Anything that you might see on board the boat throughout the
yeah,
season.
you're not short of a mascot anyways, Jimmy. That's
No,
there's lots of businesses in the peninsula, we'll say. But even on a wider basis, Jimmy, is there any kind of one business or business owner that you'd maybe like to redirect the spotlight on?
there's so many fantastic businesses out there and so many Irish businesses that are doing amazing. For me as well, kind of being in the Dingle Peninsula and collaborating with so many businesses, I might keep it to here because I think they've done a fantastic job they just work so hard behind the scenes in the business. So Castlewood House is a one small hotel of the year in Ireland and it's here in Dingle, but everything resonates with the business that Helen and Brian do. They're a small family-run business, boutique hotel that do probably the best breakfast in Ireland. I'm going to say
Oh
being
yeah.
voted the best breakfast in Ireland as well. So they do champagne-soaked pears and
Oh.
pancakes. So honestly, you have to book in there when you come down to Dingle Castlewood House. And then I'm going to go with the fish box because it would
Oh
be
yes.
obviously a fantastic restaurant here in the Dingle Peninsula and one that what Mihal has done, Mihal would be a relation that has just set up a fantastic business that's gone from strength to strength.
Hmm.
The demand for it and the authenticity of it being caught on their family boat and then coming straight to the plate in the restaurant is amazing. They set up food trucks as well that can be used for catering or they do one of them in the back of Vaughan's Pub in Dingle. So there are two businesses I'd like to highlight in Dingle, keeping it local.
You want to do maybe one last call to action for the Sea Safari, let people know how they can book in with you and everything else.
Absolutely, yeah. So we are operating again at the start of March in 2026. We would love to welcome you on board the boat. So anybody who is thinking about coming to Dingle, check us out on social media. We're at Dingle Sea Safari on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And of course, you can book with us online before coming. There is demand. We normally book up 2, 3 days in advance as well. Now, I suppose with the additional boats, we're able to cater, but you can check us out on dingleseasferry.com online and you can book through our website. And yeah, it's one you definitely have to do when you're visiting the Dingle Peninsula. Anybody who does come down here and hasn't done it regret not doing it.
Mhm.
And what's amazing as well is to get out on board the boat, see the Slayhead Drive in the peninsula from the water, and then also do the Slayhead Drive by car and just to see you were down in the water, you're up on the Slayhead Drive, and to see the two perspectives is just amazing and something that we always tell everybody to do both whenever you are visiting the Dingle Peninsula.
Yeah, I would second that as well. So perfect. That's everything, Jamie. Listen, thanks very much for taking the time today to have a chat about us. We're really looking forward to getting this up on our socials. Thanks very
Thanks
much.
so much. Gurmila Mahagat for you. Thanks a million.